Well, the ATEC Symposium, it's great to see state tourism organisations and also later today Tourism Australia here. But I'm with Carmel Beattie. Now, Carmel, your title is Group Manager International Markets for Tourism New South Wales.
That's right.
And I was listening to your presentation before, and you were talking about the way you market Australia overseas as Sydney, the brand. Mm-hmm. Tell me a bit more about that and the importance of Sydney in your marketing.
Well, I think it's important to have that strong brand that everybody recognises. We know that Sydney is actually known as it's one of the strongest city brands, and in fact continually wins the Anholt City Brand of the Year, which is wonderful. And so we just see, it's sort of a no-brainer to actually use that as our pinnacle. What we find too is because of the flights coming in, the majority of flights are actually coming into Sydney, and then can disperse from there. So our pitch, I suppose, internationally is Sydney, but also it's always Sydney and surrounds and Sydney and beyond. Yeah. So come to Sydney, and that's an experience that we know most people are expecting when they come to Australia. That's the icon.
Do you get any flack from people in regional New South Wales about that? I mean, do they say, it's too Sydney-centric and you should promote Dubbo as somewhere? I mean, I agree with what you're saying, because when you're in the UK and talking about Australia, if you ask them for, what comes to their mind, it's Sydney, it's the Opera House, it's Harbour Bridge, and so on, and then after that. But sorry.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, I actually think, I think at first there's probably been elements of that thinking, hang on, what about us? And I know that when we talk to regions, regions say, you do too much for Sydney, and then Sydney says we do too much for regions, you can't win. No. However, we've spent time talking with the regional product suppliers and regional tourist organisations, and they understand the strength of the Sydney brand. And the reality is, let's all leverage from that. Yeah. So it's not just about, we're not forgetting anybody else. As I said, when we actually produce, for instance, we produce a trade planner, which is actually very comprehensive, which goes right through the whole state, and it's called Sydney and New South Wales. Cool. So we always talk about New South Wales in the broader context, but I suppose that initial call to action is Sydney, so that's the one that takes people's eye.
Excellent. Well, look, just talking about backpacking and so on, I mean, you made a comment in your presentation that you said that Tourism New South Wales in the past had not done enough in backpacking, but it looks like from some of the figures you talked about that you've identified backpacking as a really important sector.
Yeah,
so tell me something about your work in backpacking.
I think I think it was probably that I hadn't done enough more than Tourism New South Wales.
Sorry, guys.
That's right. And Tourism New South Wales has been engaged with the backpacker organisation, but more from the development point of view.
Development
yes,
side, yeah.
And I think now is the time for us to actually, when I suppose all the ducks are sitting in their rows, that we can actually start working with the backpacker product suppliers and the industry to actually take it to a next step. And we've got some great opportunities. I think the challenge has been that they've been a hard group to wrestle with. They're a hard group to market to, because they haven't used necessarily the traditional ways of working from a tourism point of view. However, with the innovation on the internet, and there's opportunities with there's social networking sites and user-generated content, I mean, that's when I see that we've got a great leap forward for us all. And we can give them information rich, we can guide them to the opportunities and experiences that we know are there. Yeah. And we also have that, I think, I see it as a learning experience as well, that we can actually hear what people have got to say. We know ourselves word of mouth is the most important thing. You're always going to believe what your mate says as opposed to what you just read in the blurb in the magazine or whatever. And I think that is something that we can really leverage and use it as I said, a learning exercise for us. If they don't like something, we've got to ask why. Yeah. You
made some comments about Second Life, and I mean, it's probably a reflection of our age rather than anything else.
But I don't get it.
But tell me, so where is Tourism New South Wales going to do things in the Second Life, perhaps? Because that's what the market wants, or?
Well, no. In fact, Second Life has actually not got as big a take-up as what I think they were just initially going to say. I find it an unusual concept. I think it's important to actually get to people who are having their own life and their first life. I was just fascinated that STA had actually saw it as important and invested that way. No, I think we're definitely going into the more mainstream at this stage, and really looking at the where we can get the big hits, like for instance the MySpaces and the Facebooks, where you've actually got a huge amount of opportunity and numbers and people focusing already on going to those places for information.
Sure. So are we going to see Carmel Beattie on YouTube, sort of doing promotionals?
Hang on, I think I'm there already.
Oh, come on. Well, on that note, this is TravelMole TV reporting from the ATEX Symposium, and we've been talking with Carmel Beattie.